Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiong. The 2022 Winter Olympics kicked off Friday, February 4th in spectacular fashion. Compared to the last time Beijing gave us an opening ceremony 14 years ago for the Summer Olympics, it was a muted effort with far fewer spectators, athletes, and diplomats. It also was about 70 degrees colder. In the US, the opening day of the Olympic Games drew nearly 16 million viewers on Friday across NBC's TV and streaming platforms. It was roughly 43% drop from the kickoff for the Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea in 2018. The opening ceremony aired twice on Friday, live in the morning and again in prime time. Beijing is 13 hours ahead of the US East Coast. So, for the second Olympic in a row, Beijing organizers created a grand illusion. They sure know how to put on a light show on a stadium floor. One of the final torchbearers in the opening ceremony was revealed to be Uyghur cross-country skier Dinigeer Yilamujiang. The lighting of the Olympic cauldron by the final torchbearer has long been a centerpiece of Olympic opening ceremonies and marks the beginning of the Games. It is considered a great honor to be the last athlete to carry the flame. This year there was no cauldron per se, but a giant snowflake in the center of which Yilamujiang and another athlete, Zhao Jiawen, placed the flame. According to China's official Xinhua news outlet, Yilamujiang is the first Chinese cross-country skiing medalist at an International Ski Federation event. According to her official Olympic bio, Yilamujiang is 20 years old. She was born in Xinjiang to a father who was a cross-country skier. This is her first Olympics. You can connect the dots here. The symbolism was impossible to miss. CCP must have thought it was so smart that it'll show the West they don't kill and torture the Uyghurs. They love them so much they will let one of them light the cauldron. Featuring Yilamujiang in such a prominent role in the opening ceremony certainly feels similar to the way Peng Shuai was paraded around following her extended disappearance, a way for China to feign safety and respect for the individuals while remaining tight-lipped on how they are actually being treated. The obvious implication was China won't be lectured to human rights or on any other issue. China doubtless hopes to take back control of the narrative around its Uyghur population. In the run-up to the competition, rights groups and the Western governments have attacked China's human rights record. China has come under heavy criticism for its treatment of Uyghur and other mostly Muslim minorities, including the internment for an estimated 1 million people at a network of camps where detainees have reported cruel and degrading treatment, including torture and forced abortion. Chinese authorities maintain that their actions are aimed at stamping out terrorism and deny allegations of mistreatment. In December, the White House announced a diplomatic boycott of the Games, citing human rights abuses including the government's treatment of the Uyghurs. Australia, Britain, and Canada have followed with their own boycotts on human rights grounds. The subject, along with the coronavirus pandemic, has overshadowed the start of the two-week sporting extravaganza, and by opting for Yilamujiang as the final torchbearer, China doubtless hopes to take back control of the narrative around its Uyghur population. Asked about the Uyghurs at a news conference Thursday, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach repeated the IOC's position that it would not comment on political issues because it risked putting the Games at risk. 14 years earlier, at the Beijing Summer Olympic in 2008, Kamatuk Yaokun was 17 years old. He was one of several students chosen to help carry the Olympic flames ahead of the 2008 Summer Games in Beijing. Today, he is an activist in the United States calling for a boycott of the Winter Games over China's treatment of his Uyghur ethnic community. In the years since he took part in the Olympic torch relay and later attended the Games as a representative of his home region of Xinjiang, Beijing has imposed harsh policies on the Muslim Uyghurs, splitting apart Yao Kun's own family. Yao Kun recalls being proud to participate in China's first Olympics. Those feelings vanished after his father disappeared. In 2016, his father, Yao Kun Rosie, an editor of books on Uyghur literature, was arrested and sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempting to subvert the Chinese state. Yao Kun never saw his father again. He only caught a glimpse of him in a Xinjiang documentary by state broadcaster CGTN 5 years later. Yao Kun moved to the U.S. for graduate school in 2014 and has stayed ever since. In the past months, Yao Kun has regularly joined the protests in Boston calling for the boycott of the Winter Games. In the run-up to the 2008 Summer Games, Tibetan activists had demonstrated against Beijing's oppression of their community. Yao Kun says he didn't know anything about that at the time. As a high school student then, he did not pay attention to politics. All he knew was that he had a chance to go to the capital and see the Olympics as part of a youth camp. Xinjiang education officials picked the top students from a handful of schools, who were then interviewed by the Communist Youth League regional chapter for their interpersonal and English skills. When he got a phone call saying he had been selected, Yao Kun was elated. An Olympic committee in Beijing later selected Yao Kun to be a torchbearer as well. Yao Kun recalled that the morning of the run was on a hot July day and went by in a blink. He and others ran a section that started at the eastern end of the Great Wall on the coast in the city of Qinhuangdao. Each runner was given a red aluminum torch decorated with a repeated cloud motif. An inner chamber with propane allowed them to catch the flame from the previous bearer. He got to keep the tall aluminum torch as a souvenir. On the bus back to Beijing, he was besieged by curious fellow passengers who asked for a photo. Everyone was caught up in the excitement, he said. The torch and the torchbearer uniform helped smooth things over when the police came to his hotel that night to check on him. Police regularly conducted checks on Uyghur travelers in big cities. His days in Beijing passed quickly. He was one of 70 youth selected to represent China at an Olympic youth camp. He made friends with students from other countries as well. The student group had 400 plus members. Later, they went on tours of historical sites like the Forbidden City and the newly built shopping malls. These days, Yao Kun wants little to do with his home country. The Olympic flame, which is meant to transmit a message of peace and friendship, has been doused for him. He is disappointed with the current diplomatic boycott, even as it has grown to include Australia, Canada, and the UK. He says there should be a full boycott, including by the athletes. However, India announced a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics on Thursday after China selected a military commander involved in the deadly border clash between the two nations as one of its torchbearers. India's Ministry of External Affairs announced the decision with a statement from spokesperson before the opening ceremony. India's senior envoy would not attend Friday's opening ceremony nor the Games' closing ceremony at Beijing's Bird's Nest. As for Miss Yilamujiang, it didn't go particularly well. By the first checkpoint of Saturday's race, she had fallen behind more than half of the field of 65 competitors, eventually finishing 42 places behind the eventual gold medalist. It marked a remarkable 24-hour whirlwind for the unknown athlete. My best wishes to Miss Yilamujiang. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.